Number 91 is going to be, we're going to see him a lot out in Memorial Stadium this fall, that's for sure.
Talk a little bit about some of the newcomers who seemingly have surfaced in the picture now.
Been very impressed, obviously, with Jacob Robinson up front. He's a guy that's just from an intensity level, it's hard to believe he's a freshman out there. How hard he's working and how he's picking up on our scheme. I've also been very impressed with our secondary kids. Jameel Cook, Jonathan Crawford, two talented safeties that come in and really feel like they could be in the mix. And then Andre Brown, our safety from Atlanta, has came up and is a physical corner. But we're excited about those guys, and I don't think we're disappointed with any of them. Typically your freshmen right now are going to be third teamers, but some of these guys are pressing right now to get in the lineup and actually play quite a bit of football.
I mean, how I guess has that been just sort of a happy marriage of convenience and need that you've had freshmen at spots that you need to fill, and maybe those guys are performing ahead of expectations?
Well, I think that there's a special group as far as the skill level that at least what I see right now, these guys present a skill level. I think they can go out and play the caliber of football we play. But I think some of at the other positions, especially up front, the linebacker level, we've got a lot of depth. We had a lot of depth, and so I think it's kind of a need-based as far as, but I certainly haven't been disappointed with them at all.
What do you want to see from injury this year and overall the defensive line?
I think Nick needs to be a dynamic player athletically from a defensive end position with his hand in the dirt, being able to rush the passer, going against Spriggs every day makes him a much better player. So I think he needs to set the tone up front. He's so athletic, and what we do defensively should suit him great as far as being able to move and giving him an opportunity to rush the passer.
And how about the overall defensive line then?
Defensive line, that's got to be a strength of ours. It's good to see Big 98 back out there. He had a little, wasn't able to start because of health, and he will be slow getting back. But we're getting him in a little bit, and he's been able in his rehab, been able to keep his weight. He's under 300 pounds, and I think he'll be very athletic and make a lot of plays this year.
In terms of, I guess you talked about pressuring the passer. How important is that when you do have younger guys in the secondary? How important is it going to be able to not just stop the run but get to the key?
Well, I think it's important. Anytime you can rush with four, you should be able to cover pretty good. But whether it's Zach Shaw, Nick Mangieri, Darius Big Ralph Green's cut a lot of weight and become a lot better pass rusher as well. So we've got a couple of big guys, Rayner and Hoff in the middle, that are doing a great job pushing the pocket. So we got to be able to create a four-man rush, whether it's on certain down and distance or even first down, normal down and distance.
This maybe isn't a fair question. You just got here last year, but Coach Joseph was talking in the preseason earlier. You might see four freshmen out there in the secondary. I guess the question would be, in year 5 of this program, why are there not established corners? Why?
Well, I think we've had some attrition. I think you're going to see Rashard Fant today. He made a tremendous play. Rashard's coming in his third year. I think physically he's developed more than maybe anybody I've seen on this team as far as from year to year. He's now in a position where he should be a big-time contributor for us. Noel Padmore. We're counting on Noel. Those are 2-3-year kids that are coming in. So, sure, we'll play some freshmen, but be able to play depth. For the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, we played number 17 and 24, Bennett and Michael Hunter, all year. To be able to play 3 or 4 corners, that's going to provide great depth for us.
Is Andre Brown healthy now? Did he have a little setback?
Yeah, he just had probably a little freshman ding. So,
could you give us an update? Donovan Clark's situation is very murky, obviously, and you might not see him at all this year. It might extend into a red shirt. But what is anything new there?
We're in the evaluation stage. He hasn't been out with us, but certainly they've been very aggressive with their treatment on it. So, we expect some kind of decision or some kind of idea on his status this year, probably within the next 3 or 4 weeks.
I'm watching Tyler Green out there. I mean, obviously he's 6'3", he's just pretty rangy by cornerback standards, and he's learning. But talk a little bit about him and what you want to see and what you've already seen.
Well, I think size-wise, he looks as good as anybody in the country, from a corner standpoint, a boundary corner guy. What we ask him to do, I think physically, maybe a little bit like Rashard when he first came here. I think physically he needs to continue to develop. But, he's shown some signs this year. So, whether he helps us or not, I think he's a guy that could be that 5th corner.
And then you had a kid come over he was recruited possibly as a running back. And maybe even a return guy to help you there. But Talk a little bit about the kid from Virginia coming in the corner.
Oh, Devontae. Yeah, Devontae. You know, I think there's, as far as just quickness, he really showed us a lot this summer. I think the transition for him, you know, being an offensive player, certainly there will be a learning curve. But athletically, there's nobody quicker, nobody from a cover skill standpoint. Just getting him to understand defensive footballs. You know, what Coach Shelby and Coach Joseph are doing a great job.
Coach Wilson said he's not afraid of contact.
No, the matrix. You know, he's a guy that you always like guys in high school that carried the football. You know, athletically carried the football, and so we have high expectations for him. When I don't know, but his athleticism, whether it's in the return game, whether it's in cover skills, I think you'll see 5 out there this year.
You talk about the increase in depth. Is that really going to help on special teams too? That's the place where obviously you play starters maybe in one unit, but you don't want to overtax them. Is Indiana going to be more athletic throughout the special teams now?
You look at our cover units, which kickoff cover, which Coach Inge does a great job, and punt cover, which Coach Patton works. Those are mostly skill guys, safeties, corners, and so Jamil Cooks as a freshman probably is on the starting punt team. That's quite a responsibility. So being able to get a lot of depth out there, I think will help, because that's if you're on kickoff or kickoff cover and punt cover, that's like about 12 to 15 extra sprints a day, a game. So being able to have guys to be able to provide, take a break certainly will be, I think, will enhance our performance. That's for sure.
Where is Marcus Oliver right now? It seems like he was a guy who kind of robbed of a season last year, but it also seems like he might be flying under the radar with some folks outside this program. But it seems like he's a guy who can kind of step in.
Well, he's a guy that against Missouri, he tore his ACL and really didn't go through spring ball last year, but he's taken a ton of reps this fall, and I think he's getting back to where he was. And I think as far as a linebacker, him and Tigre Scales, that's a talented tandem.
Is there anyone at that cornerback position who is kind of vocal, kind of has a little bit of swagger to him? Because it seems like you have that at other positions. Is there anyone there who...
I think you need to count on our older guys. Rashard Fan. Rashard's played a little bit, hasn't played the amount that down in and down out. But I tell you, you look at Ben Bach today. Ben Bach made a big turnover today in the scrimmage. Ben just got on scholarship, so he's a guy that our guys really look up to back there. All of our secondary. He's a guy that just makes plays. So
where did he kind of emerge from? I mean, this is amazing.
He's been in the program. He's been in the program and just chopping wood. Did a great job in the spring, and so I think his performance in the spring, especially what he's done this preseason, where he's going to be a big part of our plans.
I know you guys always feel a sense of urgency, and you're going to get tested in the first couple of games, but for sure that secondary is going to get tested in week 3.
No
Western
question.
Kentucky coming in here. What do you still need to see developmentally from the secondary?
Well, I think not only secondary, but just at all the coverage positions. We're dropping 4 linebackers, so we just need to be able, with a team like Western Kentucky, they might have as much skill. They got a quarterback that's been mentioned in the running for the Heisman. So
6-year guy.
and all those. I mean, there's we're going to get tested. Teams spreading us out during that month of September, and so our secondary will be tested early.
See Shaw back there, he obviously came on, played pretty well at Bandit last year towards the end of the year. Now he's somebody you're counting on, and he has to drop back in coverage sometime, I'm sure. So talk about him a little bit in that regard.
Well, Zach was recruited as a linebacker, so he's in high school. He played linebacker position. I think his freshman year he played defensive end here. So I think he's getting back into his natural position about playing. He's got one of the transitions of 3-4 defenses. Those outside backers have to be dynamic from a 2-point stance. And I think he has been able over time, especially the last 2 years, to get great takeoff, great burst. And so he needs to be a presence off the edge. And I think he will be.
Talk a little bit about the adjustment from year 1 with your system to year 2. How the kids responded to that and what's better now than it was at this time last year.
I think the biggest thing is getting guys in the right position, like a Mangieri, Shaw, some of our secondary guys, and also just the guys learning, seeing the call over and over. The great thing for us is we are tested every day by our offense, as far as being able to cover the whole field, doing it fast. And so I think our guys are getting a lot more comfort level on just our base defense.
When you have a guy, jump around and kind of read a play really well, how can you kind of tell the difference between him actually reading the play well or him just kind of knowing the snap count, knowing the call that the offense is doing because he goes there?
Well, I think our offense, certainly we've been going against them now, so they have a pretty good idea. And you got a guy like Nate Sudfeld on that. He's not going to make a whole lot of mistakes out there. So our guys have to learn the subtleties of a odd front defense where, am I coming, am I dropping, which side are we coming for? So we're trying to take that next step. And hey, if I'm a rush end, what am I looking like pre-snap? Because if we can confuse Nate a little bit, it should be be able to present problems to other teams as well. All right, well, thanks guys.
Everything, Chris, Judge